None. Fantastic, congratulations, Mr. Tony, you are elected. Okay, so Ms. Bowen was just elected via acclamation to the audit committee. And our next ballot housekeeping activity.
Well, it would be the candidate support committee. If Rosalie Hall and Joshua Clark are still interested in candidate support, they are the only two LNC members. I would suggest that we elect them by acclamation and move to amend the policy manual to have a required 2 LNC members, and we would do a ballot for the remaining 3 positions that would normally be LNC. So we would do 5 non-LNC members and 2 LNC members. But I don't know if they're still interested.
Mr. Mann?
I would like to move to elect Rosalie Hall and Joshua Clark to the candidate support committee via acclamation.
Okay,
Sorry.
so it's been moved and seconded to elect Robley Hall and Joshua Clark to the candidate support committee via acclamation. I am trying to read your expressions. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. No objection. Okay, we're going to go to a vote via acclamation. So raise your hands and say aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, they are elected. Thank you both.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to move to amend the policy manual to reduce the number of required LNC members on the candidate support committee to 2, with the other 3 positions being open to non-LNC members.
Which makes it a total of 5
Right,
non-LNC members.
Right, it could be LNC or non-LNC, but the
Correct.
required LNC is 2.
Okay,
Second.
so it's been moved and seconded. First, we've got to, we can't technically do it in one motion, right?
We can, and I don't really think it's an amendment of the agenda, because I think it's related to this election.
Okay, so we're moving to suspend the rules to amend the policy manual.
Yeah,
But I'm in the middle of saying motion. One second. Move to suspend the rules to amend the agenda to amend the policy manual to change the required amount of LNC members for candidate support committee from 5 to 2.
right.
Okay, yes.
I believe we have an LNC member who did survey, so this may not be necessary.
I would be willing to serve on that committee. I just don't know what the process would be at this.
That brings us up to 3, not 5.
But that's actually perfect, because I wanted to say make it 3 and then try our best to find
Two,
it.
yes,
2 is just weird, and doesn't fit why not any other committees and stuff.
Well, that's what I said. I said 3.
I thought you said 2.
No, I said 3.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Okay.
I was gonna say that.
Quickly.
Oh, look at that. From 5 to 3. Okay.
Just a question on this, because we said that indicated that if we amend from 5 to 3, now, then that will reduce the total committee size down to 5. Well, it's because we're not including that in the amendment. I'm just saying that with the language of the amendment reads, it would do that, is what I'm trying to say.
That's not how I read it.
And I could add keeping the committee size at 7.
Okay, so just want to be sure
Okay,
we are keeping it at 7.
yes. Yeah, we are not changing the size of the committee. We are allowing non-LNC members to fill a need that we have. Any discussion? Does this require 2/3 of the people present in the room or 2/3 of the entire committee?
No, it would be those present and voting.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go to a vote.
And this would be.
Okay, so when you're ready, we'll do roll call.
Okay, I'm not sure everybody is here. So Mr. Benner?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Ms. Januskavich,
Yes.
Mr.
Sunyevich.
Tunyevich,
Yes.
Ms. Eiler,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Ms. Gabbard,
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian,
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Mr. Smith is not here. Mr. Watkins? is
Yes.
not- Oh, you're, okay, I see you still here. All right, 13-0-0.
Fantastic, motion passes. Thank you, LNC members who volunteers.
Well, I have another motion
Yep.
now, Madam Chair. It would be to elect Mr. Blankenship to the third LNC position by acclamation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to elect Mr. Blankenship to the Candidate Support Committee via acclamation. Any discussion? Any objection? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? Fantastic, passes.
Okay, remaining housekeeping.
Yep.
I will send out open vote ballots this evening, if that's acceptable. And since these are multi-winner races, I would suggest the use of paper voting.
Okay.
Inquiry?
Mr. Patford.
Point of information, or question, not to be on the spot, talking later. Two of the folks that were going to be on affiliate support, or competing for the LNC positions on affiliate support, are now on candidate support. Do either of those two, I mean, understanding that the work burden for candidate support is going to be significant, do either of those two want to walk away from affiliate support and focus?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. That makes it very easy then, Karen Ann, for
And so your three are,
Ms. Gabbard, Mr. Hall, and who am I missing? Ms. Watkins.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and so then approval voting ballot will go out tonight on affiliate support.
for all the non-LNC positions that need to be filled. So it would be the audit committee, but we won't get that ballot. It would be candidate support and affiliate support, and ballot access.
Okay,
Okay, correct.
okay,
And point of information.
yes.
Inquiry. Madam Secretary, approval voting, will that require multiple rounds of voting? Is it plurality, is it majority? I do not remember.
The default is will require a majority unless we pass a motion here today that would change it to plurality.
Point of information,
Yes.
how long will those local vote polls be open to vote?
Yeah.
Good.
That is going to be up to us. Normally, if you want to know, like custom after an LNC meeting, it's 2 days, it's not the 7 days, but it can be whatever we want it to be.
I would say 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then we just went through that.
We did. Does anyone else have an opinion on that? Are we okay with 48 hours?
2 days something.
Okay.
48 hours is appropriate.
Any other questions on how the ballots will work? Any other workshopping them? Speak now or never hold your peace. Nope, okay. I think that's good. Do we have any other ballot housekeeping?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my question was answered or I misunderstood. Whether it's a plurality or minority, or we have to decide that.
No, the default under Roberts is a majority.
Okay,
If we want a plurality, it would require a motion today.
but if we wanted to stay with the majority, that would possibly turn into multiple ballots, correct?
Correct.
An ALP, I cannot vote. I'm moved for the plurality. I'm just encouraging somebody.
Yeah, I would move to make each of these polls into a plurality vote for the purposes of these elections.
So that.
All four.
So that means the top vote getters win? Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
It means if someone gets 48% instead of 51%.
And it's one ballot, or
Yeah, it would be the top, like say,
doesn't matter.
if you were electing 5 people, it would be the top 5 approved.
a single ballot, by group, no matter what the percentage is.
Right.
That's where we're at. That's the motion.
So it's been moved, yes, and seconded. Any further discussion? You're jamming, I like that. Any objections before we go to vote? And was your vote was threshold in this one?
It would just be.
Yeah. Okay. All in, is it, do you need to write does it matter?
Are you saying like roll call? No.
No, I mean, do you need, you don't need, oh, no, you've got it.
Yeah.
Tiny tricks.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me make that. Not open till then.
Okay, great. We're going to vote, all in favor of Mr. Benner's motion for plurality vote, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and we're done. But not. Okay, anything else on ballots for elections?
Okay, ballots tonight.
That's-
It will be the regionals and not the alternates, because they're present electronically.
Got it. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is actually Bitcoin affiliate links, so I will address that quickly. We don't have a motion. We are looking into FEC compliance. If it is at all possible, I will put this forward. I will make it happen. If it is not possible, I'm going to pass it off to the Florida Libertarian Party because it is possible for them. So I'll make sure that the opportunity for us to have affiliate links does not fall through the cracks. Is that good? Anybody have any questions for me? You can also email me a question, but try to do it within 48 hours so that I don't drag the process out too much.
Chair, sorry, Mark, you have it, 36. So giving, if we can't do it for legal reasons, FEC reasons, so we pass on the opportunity to Florida affiliate to do this, is that by way of sort of test with them and then other affiliates would also?
If they want. So the Florida affiliate spoke out about the opportunity, and they have candidates like Janice Misegoy who are speaking up very loudly about Bitcoin, who have heard of our screen, and I would give them that opportunity, and other affiliates could certainly ask. That's kind of where we're at with it right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is this Bitcoin? Or is this like some in-house?
No. Bitcoin offered us an affiliate sign up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, I thought it was like process.
No, it's an affiliate program where we would actually make money where people sign up.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, next item on the agenda is motion recognizing valid LPNM Constitution and bylaws. It's a 30-minute item. Yes,
I can't talk it over, I want to move to table item.
until. Just check.
Definitely.
Okay,
It's a postponement then.
need a second.
Second.
Okay,
For discussion.
discussion?
Oh,
Please do.
we can't. I mean, we can, like literally, if we want to, but I do not think as an LNC we can. I think we need to vote one way or another. This is a big issue. It's actually, in moving to postpone indefinitely, you can actually speak to the underlying, and also I am going to speak to the underlying as to why we need to consider this. This is not going to go away. And what's going to happen is come 2023, the Libertarian Party of New Mexico is going to have a convention in which they're going to be operating under invalid constitution and bylaws. And that will then mean, as the executive board just extended their terms, except for the chair, that the delegates at that convention will not be able to vote for a board. They will have been disenfranchised of their rights. The situation has gone more and more into the realm of something that we're going to end up getting involved in then. And the question's gonna be, why did you let it go this long? We know it's a problem now, and we need to either decide not to do anything and take accountability for that decision by putting our nose on the record, or doing something about it and putting our yeses on the record. But postponing indefinitely is not an option.
Okay, we got Robley, and then we've got Justin Blankenship, and then anybody else have a hand up? Nope, okay, go ahead.
So coming from an affiliate where a similar thing happened, having friends in 2 other affiliates where this has happened, I think we need to take a strong position and try to tamp this down. We probably won't be successful, but we need to do everything we can to send a strong message that we're going to be in support of legitimate affiliates.
Justin?
Yes, thank you. So taking no position on the underlying issue and only on the motion to delay definitely. I would think that this is something we should discuss, but we should do so at a time when maybe we're slightly less spent and not guaranteed to be out in 45 or less minutes. I would suggest that we set a special meeting for the purpose of hearing this, as opposed to indefinitely, and that would be a very strong suggestion.
So that's a suggestion.
Well, we didn't ask them.
Well, I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm clarifying that what I heard at this moment was a suggestion. I'm leaving it entirely up to you guys. Mr. Cowan?
Even if we don't decide today, it doesn't mean, we can talk about it for the next 30 minutes and then get out of here without doing something. But I personally would like to know more about the situation.
Okay.
And to have the we have the motion, well, we just open the question to do something, and then we can talk about it. And we don't have to make a motion, we can say, okay, time's up, we'll do it next time.
So I'm gonna ask real quick by show of hands, who was on the call discussing New Mexico? Okay. Who's next? Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, that was something I was gonna bring up. We have discussed this, we had a meeting and discussed it. In my opinion, there was broad support to bring this motion to this meeting. I'm not sure how much more discussion it needs. So I would be in support of this motion without any amendments.
Okay, Mr. Elliott?
I'm unaware of anything, and playing off or following up on the conversations that we have had as a board. I'm unaware of anything new that would change my opinion from what I've heard, which is this is a very straight up situation of underhanded activity and disenfranchisement of our members in New Mexico, and that we should take a strong stand as a board to support that. So, but there may be something I'm unaware of, so I'm asking for further information.
I'm gonna give you a piece of information, and you can do with it what you will. Since our meeting, I have received a couple of emails from members asking for their party to be disaffiliated and asking for us to do that.
And are these legitimately elected representatives at the legitimate?
They're just members of the party. I'm just letting you know, you asked, what has come up since? That is what people are asking. Okay, so let me go. Okay, we've got Mr. Chunyevich, and then we've got Mr. Hagopian, and then we've got Mr. Nair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, Mark, the other 3 things. While it's true, as Mr. Bowman points out, that we had a phone call on this, and we heard from people, and we heard public commentary. What we've not heard from the chair and other officers of the affiliate as it exists today. I believe that phone call, for me, it felt like a very one-sided phone call where we've been provided with incomplete information. Now, I know that people have watched videos and some of it is hard to hear, et cetera, but coming out of that meeting, I was not persuaded because I didn't feel I had full information. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got up next Hagopian, Nana, Bowen, Watkins.
It's my understanding that the other side was invited to that meeting and chose not to come. I will reiterate my objection that this is not strong enough, but I will vote for it if it's the motion on the table. I believe that coup should equal disaffiliation, period, and then they can reaffiliate later at a later time if they want to, and I believe this qualifies. Thank you.
Well, it's parliamentary,
Wait, yes,
it's parliamentary authority, and I want to make it parliamentary, inquiry.
okay.
There's, the only motion on is a motion to table, but what is he trying to table?
He's trying to table the agenda.
Item.
Trying to the agenda item. Is
So-
that appropriate for tabling, or is the only motion to be tabled?
It's not a table, it's a postpone.
Well, he's wishing
Agenda
to,
item.
but there's been notice given of the motion. I mean, technically, hyper-technically, probably I need to make the motion first. It needs to be seconded and then, but I think we already know there's going to be somebody here to second it. We already know I would make the motion. I think the chair could assume that the motion has been made and
Well, I'm
seconded.
sorry, I don't even know what the theoretical motion is.
It's up there.
Oh,
already.
it's been there, and I've been
Oh, I'm
posted
sorry.
on the list.
Yes, I mean, the agenda item was tied directly to the motion.
Yeah.
This affiliation thing?
No,
No, no,
I'll read this out loud. I move that the Libertarian Party of New Mexico be informed in writing that the Libertarian National Committee has found that the Constitutional Convention held on July 12, 2022 was null and void and recognizes the LPNM's official constitution and bylaws as those adopted March 27, 2021. The exact form and content of the letter shall be drafted by the chair or her designee with approval by the executive committee.
I think, parliamentary speaking, that we ought to have that motion first, then a second, then he can move his table.
Okay, we are getting too much, hold up. We're getting too into debate. This is just a point of parliamentary inquiry. I think it's been answered.
Which is what I said, should happen.
The chair is allowed to assume an emotion when it's obvious it would be made and seconded. I believe that.
The agenda item is tied directly to the motion. If there was no motion with the agenda item, I would be like, slow down. Okay. Go again and then you.
Yes, I don't get talked.
Okay,
Put me on deck right after this. I'm calling the question on my motion to postpone.
okay. We've got Bowen, Watkins, and Harlow.
Oh, you can remove me. I'm willing for the question.
Okay. Bowen, Watkins?
Mostly just to echo what Todd said, I think if they were invited and they didn't show up, that's just telling in itself, and that's it.
Thank you. Dustin?
All right, so now that we're on the underlying motion, well, actually, no.
Yeah.
I moved the call question.
Yes.
And then we gotta do that.
Okay, question has been called. So now we're going to be going to a vote on whether or not we are postponing the agenda item indefinitely. Does everyone
Is
understand?
there objection?
Is there a request for information? Okay, a quick one.
Sure.
Has anyone in this room spoken with Mr. Buccini, the chair of the Mexico Party?
Yes, I have.
Regarding this issue,
Yes.
are you share any of that, or is anything relevant to this discussion?
That's debate on the point of parliamentary, but that's debate on.
No, I'm not debating, I'm asking
Okay,
for
So
information
I'm
about
gonna
this.
say that no, because then it's going down rabbit hole.
Okay.
But he's been contacted by me and by the secretary.
Not since this, but not in the way that Mr. Mark, that Mark is requesting.
Okay, so,
Just asking.
I mean, I did send an email, but, and I think you're asking if there's been personal back and forth.
Right,
And
that's
he
sure
knows it
sounds
has
like
not.
no. Thank you.
okay, yes.
Just for edification, or, I believe Josh Smith has been talking to, so she, unfortunately, he got here, but it might be something you might want to share.
Yeah, speaking right, I think you mentioned that, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go to a vote
On any, or,
just call the question being called. Okay, there's no objection to the question being called, going once, going twice, questions called. Now we're going to debate.
No,
I mean,
now we're going.
Okay, here's what we're going to vote on.
postpone agenda item indefinitely.
Are we ready?
You want to re-roll?
Yep.
over. And I can't get this screen smaller.
I'm going a little bit slowly on this to make sure that everybody
Madam
understands.
Chair,
what
for
we're
point of
doing.
personal privilege.
Yes.
Please explain what a yes vote does, and please explain what a no vote does this Sunday afternoon at 5:30. I'm sure everybody has seen this.
Okay. Voting yes means that we are not going to vote on this agenda item. We're not gonna vote on the motion. We're gonna be done with talking about the New Mexico Libertarian Party for the rest of the day. Madam Secretary, can this agenda item be renewed at any point?
Yes, you can.
Okay, that answers that follow-up question that hadn't been asked yet, but I assume it would be. Voting no means nope, we're going right back. We're gonna decide this issue, unless you amend motions and do things like that. We're just right back where we started, we're gonna hear the motion. We good? Okay,
Thank you, Madam.
okay, so we're gonna go to a vote, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Madam Secretary, at your convenience.
Mr. Benner?
No.
Mr. Blankenship?
Pass.
Mr. Bowen?
No.
Ms. Yanukovych?
No.
Mr. Tuyevich?
Want to talk about no?
Ms. Eilert?
No.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Ford?
No.
Ms. Gabbard?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
No.
I will vote no. Mr. Nana?
Yes.
And Mr. Watkins?
No.
Madam Chair, it's 1 yes, 11 no, 0 affirmative. Oh, I was passing it.
Yes, I will vote.
So it will be 1, 12, 0.
Okay, the motion failed. Mr. Nana?
So now that we're on the underlying motion, regardless of how we feel about what happened, this board should not be in the business of determining what bylaws are the right bylaws, what constitution is the right constitution. If we are going to do this, we need to disaffiliate the party and let people apply to reaffiliate, and then we can affiliate with who we feel is should be the rightful affiliate, similar to what Mr. Wilson had touched on earlier.
Okay, can we see the text of the motion? Here we go. So, everybody read that and then understand Dustin's argument. Good? Comparing things? Okay, great. Mr. Benner?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd just like to kind of bring back a point that was brought up on the special meeting that we had on this, is that our parliamentarian Richard Brown said that it would be in order to consider this motion, and that it does not violate the bylaws, because the bylaws call to the question of which is the legitimate board. So just a point I wanted to bring up.
Okay, Ms. Harlow?
Okay. To more formally, since it was an informal discussion, there is no, I have seen that. There's no question whatsoever, it is an objective fact, just a parliamentary objective fact, that convention was illegal. No speaking to Mr. Lucchini or anyone else is going to change that fact. It wasn't on their website, and they didn't send notice. There's no explaining around that. It's one of those things that, it's not Schrodinger's cat. It's not the cat that's both alive and dead. It's an objective fact. So to me, and Richard Brown concurs absolutely in the strongest possible terms that it was not a legal convention. Their March convention was also not a legal convention, which just piles on to the issues. So the question just becomes if we're going to do something about it. That really is the only question.
One second. Will you please read the statement that Richard Brown said?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Because he wants the LNC to hear it, but I think it would be better room for you.
Okay.
And just to be clear, this is a slate.
Richard Brown is the party's parliamentarian,
Okay.
so he is not on
Okay.
either side of anything.
Okay, wait, where was that again? I know I had it. And I can't find it.
I think it's in the OneNote for the meeting we had, Karen.
Okay, the message says, Angela Karen, When you reach the discussion about the New Mexico affiliate, please make sure that the LNC understands that my position is, and always has been, that the notice of the special convention was defective, and that a 30-day notice requirement applies to both the notice posted on the website and the notice emailed to members. Of course, the notice also failed to include other required information, such as the statement about dues having to be paid 30 days prior to the meeting, and that the requirement in state law that the purpose of the meeting be included in the notice. It also did not comply with the RO&R requirement that the specific items to be taken up at a special meeting must be in the notice.
Okay, thank you. Secretary, now we've got, I believe we had Mr. Tuyevich.
Well,
Go ahead.
we kind of got somewhat interrupted,
Go
so
ahead.
the only question is what we are going to do about it. And the answer to that could be nothing. And I know some people will think of the later one is, can we do anything about it? But that still is part of the question of are we? I believe we absolutely have to. And if I don't believe doing nothing is a responsible thing to do. This is going to happen in other states. If persons do not want to adopt this, which I do think is the lightest touch possible, I do think it's then our responsibility to consider this affiliation, which I don't want to do. But I'll tell you, I don't want to do that less than I don't want to do nothing.
Thank you. We're going to go to Mr. Tuyevich, and then I believe we have Dustin, and then Rich Bowen, and then Mr. Cowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if this body feels strongly that, hey, all of this is true, they did a bad thing, it's an illegitimate convention, our principal tool to deal with that is not some motion recognizing a particular constitutional violation. Our principal tool is disaffiliation. I'm not going to mix it up. I'm not going to start offering motions to substitute, et cetera. But my own feeling is vote this puppy down and vote this affiliation. If you feel that this is where your problem is, or appropriate, you know, that.
Okay, so I'm adding you to deck. Next up is Dustin Blankenship.
I have similar, at least thoughts, but I guess in hearing it and maybe hearing, maybe you are better parliamentarians than I am, it feels as though everything that Mr. Brown said should be raised by an interested party at a state convention as a member who's been disenfranchised. Our role in saying your convention is not constitutional or valid, that's the part that feels like we're in the weeds a little bit to me. And so that's sort of where I'm coming in on it. I don't think that anything that's said is wrong. I just wonder if that's our role in this situation. Maybe it is, but that's where I'm hung up on it.
I don't know if you want.
I would like you to respond. Who watched the video?
Were you at the meeting?
Yeah, always.
Because I believe I responded as best as I can there, that I do not believe this affiliation is our only option. I do think our options, though, are extremely limited. And one of those options, obviously, I know some people disagree as to the bindingness of precedent. I don't think precedent is binding, but I do think it's custom. So it means it's persuasive. And I think the persuasive custom is that if there's a dispute as to the identity of the board or the chair, then we can make that determination. But we can't make that determination without also knowing what the Constitution and bylaws is. I think the idea that there's an illegitimate Constitution and bylaws is absolutely entailed in that custom, that custom is completely incoherent without that corollary. I believe those are one of the few things we can do. Let's say there was a dispute as to who the communications director was. I would say we got to cut out of it. That's not it. But when you're dealing with the foundational things that deal with the rights of the members in that state, and you have a board that just ran absolutely roughshod over it, that we do need to do something. And I don't believe in directly going for the nuclear option when we can try something else. This does not prohibit us from 6 months if they just become more obstinate, tell us to, Send us the nuclear middle finger the way Wes Wagner did in Oregon. I don't know if you've seen that letter. It's legendary. But we can still always consider disaffiliation in the future. But I would like not to go from 0 to blow the whole thing up. I would like to see what the response is to this. And I would like to give members in convention something to say, listen, the National Committee made this determination, so it's not just, members who might not know parliamentary procedure well, might not know what the obligations and duties are well. And honestly, a lot of people had said members need to take this up in state court. This decision, actually, that we recognize that it was an illegal convention, will help them.
So I just want to make sure that everybody has the information so they understand what's going on. You mentioned, why didn't they go to the state convention and speak up?
No. So like, basically, the next convention.
Okay, so you remember what happened at the last convention? You're not invited to this call. So, just keep that in mind. Mr. Bowe.
So, Mr. Ford and I have some experience with this type of thing. The last LNC, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but the former LNC really did nothing but put their head in the sand with stuff like this. They just didn't want to deal with it. They didn't even have meetings about it. I have always contended that even though it's not explicit in any bylaws, any policy manuals or anything like that, it is implicit in our leadership without affecting autonomy to find out what the facts are. Okay? Discuss those facts. Banding them about a little bit. Come up with a idea, solution, what we feel is the best, or what we feel is right, okay? And comment on it. We're not asking the affiliate to do anything, okay? But we as leaders are saying, this is what we believe. And to me, it's implicit in our job to be leaders to do that. I also want to concur with Ms. Harlow's that I get the feeling that this is where this is going. I think this is going to disaffiliation. That's my feeling right now. I also don't want to just jump in the pool with disaffiliation. I believe it's better for us, okay, to notify the state of New Mexico that we have some issues, that we feel this way. As leaders, we feel members have been disenfranchised. We're telling you that, can you fix it? That's what I want to do to the affiliate, so that I feel like I'm being the leader, we're being the leader, but we're really not involving them all the time. So this is, to me, the best first step to do before we start jumping into people's spending.
Okay, so real quick, we're at almost 24 minutes on this. We've got 30 minutes, and the room we lose in 22 minutes. I've got a list of people who I'm going to get to. Keep the time constraints in mind. Mark Calvin?
So I agree with the motion, and I think that when the letter is drafted, it ought to attach the reasons that our parliamentarian says, and I agree with what this gentleman just said about giving them an opportunity to respond. So I think the letter ought to say, this what it is, what it looks like to us, friends. You need to tell us if you disagree with that within 30 days, or we'll have to think of some other action. In other words, we need to have an ask in there. And we need them to tell us why they think it's legal, if they do, and then if they don't, and say that, tell us why it's legal, or tell us how you're going to fix it. We need an ask in the letter.
Okay. Up next is Mr. Copian, and Ford, and back to Mr. Trinkovich.
So I don't think you should be disaffiliated for holding an invalid convention. Okay, I do think you should be disaffiliated for a coup. I think that if you add one thing to this letter, it makes all the difference in the world. If you say XYZ, bylaw changes and whatnot are not valid, we're going back to this one, which was the last valid convention, and therefore your executive committee is these people. Because we can, it's my understanding that we're allowed to decide which leadership we're recognizing. If we're not recognizing an illegal
The
convention.
leadership's not in question.
Well, it is if people got it, if people got elected at an invalid.
No, there was no elections at this convention.
I thought
The
that was,
previous.
No, there weren't elections at the previous convention.
I heard everybody but the
Previous,
chair.
Previous, how sad is this? Okay, so basically, my understanding is you're pointing out that there are specific people who were elected.
That was my understanding.
Okay. And it's not at this convention, it's not the one before, but at some point in the recent past, which we can dig up for minutes, there's a
I thought it was everybody but the chair.
No, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding, I think, when it gets to my turn, I
Okay.
will clear that up.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Mr. Ford.
Right, 2 points. When it came to the Delaware debate, there was an attempt to do exactly what Mr. Rogan suggested, which was to recognize in that case the officers who had been installed properly. That ultimately did not pass, even though I think that would have saved a lot of problems. If that's the case, I believe we should pursue that. But in the interim, there's always an attempt to conflate the lack or the inability of the LNC to get physically involved in removing, changing constitutions, et cetera. But to Mr. Bowen's comment, we have a moral imperative as the leaders of this party, and these folks are effectively acting as extensions of our party. They are affiliates. We have a moral imperative, we have a need to weigh in so that for future purposes, whether we as a friend of the court or for simply a reflection to the membership at large, that we will not continue to tolerate this nonsense. That's one of the functions of a court. So I rise in support of this amendment. I believe correctly that the nuclear option should be kept aside right now. We should express a willingness to use it if in fact we are called upon. But I think this is the ideal solution for the current situation.
Okay, I got Mr. Carlos and then Mark and then Brian Elliott, and we've only got 2.5 minutes left.
Okay, there's an outside parliamentarian who keeps, yelling at me that we should put some kind of deadline on here, and now I'm starting to become persuaded by that, which is something that Mr. Calvin had said, because we can send this and they can go, yeah, okay, fine, that's nice. So, I am going to move to amend my motion, and I'm going to just type in all caps to make it easy for you to say, are those adopted here? And what's that one, all caps? And request your acknowledgement that those are the valid bylaw. What would be the
Recognized.
that those are the recognized operative, okay,
Yeah.
are the operative constitution and bylaw, I'm just gonna put C and D, but constitution and bylaws by, August, the end of August 31st.
Fine.
And then, that's not the end of it, or the LNC may need to consider other options. So that's my motion to amend my motion.
Second.
Second. The movement second. We're continuing. Okay, the question has been called. Any objection to calling the question?
Just about the amendment.
Yep. Okay. Hearing none. We're gonna go to a vote on the amendment. Does everyone see the amendment in full response? Okay? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed? No expressed abstentions. Okay, the amendment passes. We've got, about 20 seconds left on this agenda item.
Somebody should call the question.
Yeah, I'll call the question.
Okay, the question has been called by Mr. Bowen.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Okay. And it's been seconded.
I'm
And
sorry.
any objection to calling the question? The amended motion is now the main motion, so we are calling the question on the main motion.
As amended.
As amended. We good? We understand? Okay, the next thing we're gonna go to is a vote. So there's no objections, the question's been called. We're going to vote on the main motion as it's amended. Yep. Hang tight for 1 second. Okay, there it is. Okay, we're gonna go to a roll call vote whenever our secretary is ready.
Mr. Leonard.
Yes.
Mr. Washington.
Yes.
Mr. Bowman.
Yes.
Ms. Janis.
Yes.
Mr. Tunevich.
Yes.
Ms.
No, double yes.
Don't wait. That's a
Ms.
yes.
Iowa.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Ford.
Yes.
Ms. Gabbard.
Yes.
Mr. Begonia.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Nana.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yep.
Okay, Madam Chair, it is 13-0-0.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you all. I will be drafting that letter and getting executive committee input and approval on the final letter. That's to be clear. Okay,
That's amended as far as.
okay, so we've got 13 minutes left in our day, and we have a few agenda items. So let's see, the next thing is set place and dates of next in-person meeting. Mr. Kraus?
So we have a basic option for the first weekend in November, the 11, 5, and 6. And I just heard from another property, so now we're up to 2 possible options for that weekend. We were looking at the first 3 weekends of November. The second weekend of November is football weekend, UT, so forget about it. You can't even get in the city. I mean, if you want a room, it's 300 something a night or whatever, so forget that. The third weekend is the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's also a tough weekend because students are going home and stuff like that. It's not the best weekend. I can definitely get us in, not at the best prices. The best weekend still remains the 11, 5, 6, no games that weekend. And we're looking at the Radisson in North Austin. And I'm currently at 119 with like a grab-and-go breakfast. It's basically, we had a meeting there years ago. There's a bunch of fast food restaurants in that neighborhood. It's not, you know, the greatest place. Texas LP's had a convention or 2 there. We've done some other things at that location before. It's not the best, but it's the cheapest. The second option is our #1 overflow for the Austin convention was at the Holiday Inn Lake Austin near downtown. And that is currently at $139 with a complete hot breakfast. We are trying to get that down to $135. That's over $100 less than their current lowest price.
Right.
Because they want our overflow business again. You know, so.
The Hiltons?
So let's,
That's kind of what our options are. I don't know where it's going to end, but I kind of want just to get a feeling, first of all, is that a good weekend?
well, let me explain why. So I am almost 5 months pregnant, and I will be about 8.5 months pregnant at that time. And I am moving to Austin, Texas. So I said anywhere, Austin, San Antonio, within an hour and a half. Like the earliest I could have a baby if I go into labor is about 3 hours. So I was like, if I'm an hour and a half away and I have a really fast one, I could probably still get there in time. I actually think I could go into labor and probably finish the meeting.
We will fly Dr. Paul.
Don't think I won't.
Unless there's an IT question on the back.
So that's why we picked Austin. I did give a little bit of, wiggle room, but I left it up to Mr. Kraus and what he thought, was the best deal. And we are considering bringing the 2026 convention to Austin, Texas, because we got skipped over them in 2020, and there's already a relationship there. So that's why he's talking about the different hotels in Oakland.
Madam Chair, I thought the LNC was considering Alaska.
Madam Chair, do you care which hotel?
No, I don't care.
So,
Can I?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, in the for expediency's sake, I think we should just decide this one. We could present with the options. That price may change, or it may change, depending on $5, it may change some people's mind.
Well, do we need to decide the hotel, or do we just need to decide the city?
Yeah, let me know if the location's okay. The hotel, I really kind of have a deadline early this week to kind of lock that in. So,
Yes.
I would just like to point out, just from a date consideration, that the 5th is 3 days before Election Day. So we're gonna be in the midst of the elections. I know that the 19th is right before Thanksgiving, but that actually gives somebody time to at least breathe before, after the elections, and, I think trying to get energy from this board when you're in the middle of energy for the last 3 days of a campaign.
Very good point. I'm gonna possibly have a baby 4 days after that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think
Just hold it in.
I would roll with it. I will do this whole thing in false labor. You'll all bear with me.
The baby has a vote that cannot be overruled.
I'm giving you information. Oh, somebody else.
I just wanted to acknowledge that if it is the 5th, which is totally fine, I will not be present because I'm officiating a wedding for my best friend.
Likewise, I'll be at a wedding on
Okay, we have 2 weddings.
Same.
that. Not sure how wow.
Wow.
It's a popular day.
remember the 5th of November.
Madam Chair, is that will be the budget meeting?
Yes.
What are we gonna do?
Should we consider meeting for the last meeting of October?
Okay.
Well, you're of course allowed.
I
And
don't know if it has to be.
I did inquire about that weekend, and I literally had 0 people come to me and say that weekend's available. I think that may be another UT weekend.
She's gonna have a newborn.
Yeah.
October
I
is
need
3 months.
I need like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any time off except for the time that I'm in labor.
Where are you expected?
November 25th.
Oh, okay, so I have to.
So if we do the 19th.
And they never come early, so.
I think the first one comes late, that's what everyone says, so.
But I
You're
just,
small, though.
all seriousness, acknowledging the uncertainty as we're, looking at the calendar that tightly, that there's.
I will
no way
deliver the
we-
baby in room.
Appreciate your commitment, Madam Chair.
If you all want, I
Executive
could
session.
look at the 29th or whatever that weekend is, or in Austin, October, the Halloween weekend in October in Austin, if you all want me to look at that weekend.
Sure.
Okay.
October what?
October 29th.
We can do this by electronic ballot.
We can do it by electronic ballot, so let's make sure that we have a list of dates. October 29th, November 5th is looking rough. Is it still a possibility if October 29th is not?
I think it has to be, because even though the 19th might seem better, for those of us who are employed, and don't have seniority, the people with seniority are the ones who are going to be taking off around Thanksgiving. And I think you're gonna have more people who can't show up for the 19th. You probably will not have a secretary for the 19th.
They asked you this for the 12th, in San Antonio, because UT won't be a problem there. How's that looking for everyone?
Yeah.
What month?
Is it Friday?
November
16 minutes.
I likely will not. be able to make the final decision.
it's not easy.
I just wondered, we sorted it out for our region. Is there a region that will not have any representation on the fifth?
So, my office is not here right now, so I don't know.
Are you not here?
I'll be here on the weekend of the 5th. My girlfriend's birthday is the weekend of the 12th. Her birthday is the 12th, so she
So
will
you're
not
not
be
a
able.
problem, Ellen, you're.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can have a
Right.
representative from each region, and then why would it be in
Which
each?
is why we have all.
But then we still have the.
I will be around.
That's what I was saying. I wasn't sure if there was
Point out,
a
this
region
is
with no
probably
one.
the most important meeting of the year. I think
Yeah.
it's critical to, number one, pay attention to that chair's issues because of the nature of the meeting. I don't know if any of you who are new to the board have ever watched the budget meeting. It's a long weekend. I think it's gonna be great. It's not gonna be contentious, but it's a long technical weekend with a lot of concerns. You also need time, if you're a region rep, to make sure that all your states have given you the information that you need to make your claim the weeks running up to the budget.
I will slug it out, whatever weekend we pick. If you pick December, I don't know if I can.
Right.
If I end up having a C-section in an emergency, I'm
Nice.
not gonna be able to physically get on a plane. Even if I drag myself to the airport, they're not gonna let me on the plane. They have a policy, which is lame. They also won't let me fly in my 8th month. They will catch me and literally prohibit me. So the spirit is willing, but the law is opposition. Okay, Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we should stay away from the 19th, that is the weekend before Thanksgiving. Travel is gonna be a nightmare, the prices are gonna be a lot higher, we just have to stay away from the weekend after. My feeling is that we passed a motion here to hold the, and I'll make that motion right now, to hold the next meeting the first weekend in November, in Austin or San Antonio, depending on.
It'll be Austin.
It'll be awesome.
It'll be Austin that weekend, all right, in Austin, I understand, there's 25 people on this board, we're never gonna get a weekend where 25 people attend. We'd like to make sure we have regional reps available, it sounds like every region will be represented. You get into December, you're starting to get into holidays, as the board said, this is the most important meeting we have, the budget meeting. Our chair is not going to probably be involved in December. In my opinion, everything points to that weekend. So I'm making the motion to set that the meeting for that weekend in Austin.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to hold our next meeting the first weekend of November in Austin, Texas.
We have 2 minutes, call the question, somebody.
Call the question.
Call the question.
The question has been called. We actually have robust discussion already. Okay, we're gonna go to a vote.
I'm sorry, we're talking about the first weekend of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to a vote.
Was there objection to moving to end debate?
No, we ended the meeting.
No, okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, then I got it now.
Madam Chair, we're both gonna send our rights those ways.
Oh, my God. That's very generous. Let's go and vote. Come on.
Sorry, I can't appreciate you. It is what it is. God, let's see
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay,
Mr. Benner,
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship,
Abstain.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Ms. Yanskavich. Yes. Mr. Tuyevich.
It's high, that's job.
I'm trying.
Every weekend.
He's always moving.
Okay, Ms. Eiler,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Ford,
Yes.
Ms. Gabbard,
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian.
Absent.
What?
oh, we have a meeting.
Oh, okay. I will vote yes, Mr. Manning,
Yes.
and Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
The only pass, right? Okay, so Madam Chair, 11 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, guys. We are out of time. We have 2 things left on our agenda. Potential candidates for opportunities in LPAL. I have not received the information that I anticipated receiving. So I will put together a presentation when I get that information, send it out and try to do an email ballot about it as opposed to a special meeting, because I don't want to punish you anymore. Guest contribution blog, Nana, is it something that we can take care of electronically?
Maybe something that you deem that you are able to authorize yourself, in which case.
Okay, we can do that. We've already set special meeting dates, that's been moved. Elect two LNC members for ballot access vacancy. Electronically. Closing ceremony, any announcements?
Yes.
Yes.
One announcement, Robert, you can help me out with this if you want. Tomorrow morning, we are going to visit DC Hilton, the location of the 2024 convention. I believe there are 6 of us going, maybe 7. Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, myself, Mr. Kraus, Mr. Watkins, and Mr. Pansy. Is that correct?
That's
Mr.
correct.
Ford's not sure of his travel arrangements tomorrow, he may join us. So that's 6 or 7 of us. We do only have 1 car here. That's Mr. Watkins with 4 people. So there will be 4 people in his car. 3 will probably have to take Uber to the next best up, and the next best place to go, right? Okay? And Mr. Kraus, we want everybody in the lobby at what time?
6:30.
Ah,
I'm sorry, 9:30. It's late, it's so late.
9:30.
And I gotta keep working tonight, so.
Our appointment is from 10 to 11, so I would recommend everybody check out, if they're checking out before we leave.
Got it, okay.
Right now, I have, by the way, I have a car, but my car is filled with luggage and stuff for houses because I'm going up to New Jersey and Florida. But if someone wants to put some of their stuff in there while we're going, I'm happy to just throw your luggage into my car and you can retrieve it when you come back.
And for the drivers who are going, we can park right in front of the hotel, just in their driveway. We have permission, we don't have to go put in the garage or valet or anything.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
announcements, again, it's the end. Tyler Harris is last. Thank you, Tyler. We are sad, we will miss you. You can take cupcakes home. I bet. She would love cupcakes.
Thank you all for the touching gestures throughout the weekend. It's meant a lot, and I appreciate you all. Appreciate it.
And all I wanted to thank you guys for, man, this was a filled weekend. We got a lot of work done, and it was such a pleasant experience. I don't want to jinx us, but it was such a pleasant experience, and I appreciate all of you.
Thank you. And the last thing is opportunity for public comment, and I don't see.
Or Spike.
Spike has said hello. And there's one other item on the agenda.
I just wanted to say one thing about this New Mexico business. I don't think anybody here wants to be handling this kind of business. I just want to put that out there. I think our game is wrong course, or being forced. So,
Oh, no, nobody wants.
well, yes, no one wants to deal with or to do this.
No.
Piggyback on that, it's not really our position, but the next bylaws committee, I really hope creates some sort of
Yes.
a body to handle these disputes, because we are never gonna, it's never gonna end up that.
There was a good proposal.
Adjournment is on the agenda. It's been moved. It was seconded.
And you thought.
Thank you. Any objections to adjournment? Thank you.
Say the 3 words. We are
So
adjourned.
twice, 3 times, we are adjourned.